So they ask Helion.
Wait, we cannot brush past. By the way, did you just skip an entire sex scene?
No, it's coming up.
Okay, good.
No, he's not arriving yet. I'm just saying they're inviting him.
Oh,
wow,
okay,
have a little faith. Have a little faith in me.
I'm sorry. Welcome back to Faywatch.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, this is
groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking, incredibly exciting.
Terrifying.
Also terrifying. It's also sad. It's bittersweet. It's not sad in a way that's really sad, but I'll get to it. I'll get to it now. And that is to say, Dina Marie, R.I.P. She hasn't died.
She quit.
Dina quit.
She quit.
Oh my gosh, no, that's such a sick little joke.
It's not true. It's not true
true
at all. She did abandon us for warmer climes.
Yeah. Dina is down under, okay? Dina is down under and has left us here in North America just simply like fending for ourselves without
laboring
our Dina.
In these like harsh winter conditions while she eat, prays, loves.
Yeah, she's eat, praying, loving. She's probably like having several intriguing trysts. Like, we don't know. We don't know.
What do they like? I was trying to think of like what fun food would she be having in Australia, but it's just like spam or whatever, right? Or is that Britain? I don't know.
Spam is like Hawaii, but
okay.
Yes, they eat spam in Hawaii. In Australia, they eat Vegemite.
Vegemite. That's what I was thinking of. Vegemite.
Vegemite.
Ew, don't have Vegemite, Dina, if you're listening.
Yeah, Dina, don't do it. Don't do it. We're really missing Dina today. We had to carry on. We had to get into really like the meat, the real. We're getting into this book, if you know what I'm saying. And so we're really excited to do that. We're gonna miss her. We're gonna carry her spirit with us. We're going to carry her Misandry. Well, maybe we'll take a vacation from Misandry.
What is that? What does that mean?
Hatred of men.
Oh yeah. We're taking a vacation from that. We're taking a vacation from fucking action sequences, kind of plot detail.
Yeah. We're skipping
any sort of positivity. No, just kidding. But like, kind of not.
Yeah. So like, we're gonna do our best, but we miss you, Dina. Dina will be back next week. Don't worry.
Yeah. If you're not,
Mommy and Daddy aren't getting a divorce.
In our throuple.
Your throuple, Mommy and Daddy and Mommy are not getting a divorce.
Yeah. No, not yet. We'll see. By the end of this, Rach and I might be in a divorce.
Yeah, that's
time
true.
will only tell.
Will is gonna squire me on this romantic one-on-one date through, this book.
Okay. Well, we should just begin.
Let's begin.
I was going to say we begin like en media res or whatever, but I guess because we're just in the middle of the book, that's like definitionally true, So it's like not quite that interesting. Anyway, it's kind of classic. Nessie is doing a little like brooding step journey, one of several she does. She makes it a little further. And she comes back and has like a nice little interlude with House, like capital H House. House. And like they kind of have like their friendship is based on smutty books, I think is like how it kind of starts. And so she is like, I'm getting this new smut book. After I read it, I will like give it to you, the House. And the House is like, aw, and like gives her like a little wee breeze to cool her down from her walk.
Oh, yeah. They're doing a little like book exchange or like breeze book exchange.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get back to House later. House gets in on the fun a little bit. Or like,
wow.
Anyway.
House.
Okay, almost everyone else is at their monthly potluck, which is like, it's like monthly governing potluck, a wine-soaked affair.
Yeah, the inner circle is assembling.
They just get lit and sort of discuss matters of state or whatnot. I don't really know. Mm-hmm. Although, I guess actually, okay, so it includes Varian, who I don't know that we've met. He is like Amryn Lover, correct? From another court.
Lover from the summer court.
Right.
We met him when the squad went to the summer court.
he's not like an ancient being. He's just high-fae.
He's just high fae.
Yeah.
Summer court, sort of like nobility or whatever. Hot guy.
Feyre is not there because she's pregnant and she has to go to bed early.
She's sleepy. Yeah.
And Elaine isn't there because she's not pregnant, but she has to tend to an elder fairy's garden at dawn.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like good for her. Dawn's like a little early, but like whatever.
Yeah, but like when the elder fairies need their garden tended to, you go
must.
at the time that they desire.
Yeah, you must. Okay, this is the thing I can remember from if we covered it last time. Amren wants Nesta to find the trove. Did we talk about the trove? I think we did, right?
Oh, who can say?
It's like the Deathly Hallows of ACOTAR.
Right, yeah.
It's just like 3 magic objects that are important.
Yeah, I don't know what a trove is.
A trove, I think it's like a treasure trove, you know?
Yeah, but like why is it dread?
What do you mean?
Like dread trove.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, why?
Because, like, I think they're, like, scary, the objects in it. I think a trove is, like, I have no idea. I think a trove is, like, a little, like, you dig into the ground, and that's where you put your treasure. And the trove is, like, the little pit you dug. And so
yeah,
it's
but
like,
why would you be searching? Oh, so you're searching for, like, a hole in the ground?
No, but that's maybe, like, a metaphor. I guess maybe a trove is, like, the collection of treasure, you know? It's, like, they're, like, a complete set of treasure or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway,
Sure.
It's a dread trove.
Yeah.
And the bad guys want them.
Yeah,
and
they
we want
want
the
them.
bad guys to have them. That's like, you know?
Yeah.
But Nessie is like kind of doing her thing. She doesn't want to look for the trove because that requires scrying, which is like
bad
I don't know.
vibes.
Like you like looking in water using bones or something. I don't really know. Like looking to see where things are. But she's afraid because and it's kind of like Disney Channel original movie way, the cauldron last time she scried, that's when the cauldron
Looked at her
and like stole Elaine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then Amren is like, you have a week. Amren's just like fucking on one. Amren doesn't care.
Such a B word, no offense, Amren. Like,
she'd probably be like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, she's quite rude.
Okay. Then, I don't know, whatever. Nessie changes her mind. So she decides to scry. Oh, wait, I do know. JK, I do know. Nesta decides to scry because she's been inspired. And whomst has she been inspired by? She's been inspired by kind of herself, but in a roundabout fashion. Because most immediately she's inspired by the priestesses because more priestesses start showing up at her little wee training. But the reason they start showing up is because she got into like a very public fight with mean librarian researcher Meryl in front of like the whole library. Yeah. Because Meryl found out that like Nesta helped Gwyn like get the right book to her, and she was like, how dare you get me the right book? And then she like threw a fit. And anyway, Meryl is like, she doesn't really make a lot of sense. She's like, do you think you're special just because you like saved the world and slew the Irish king and were made from this like magic cauldron like no one has ever been before? And that's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Literally,
maybe.
yes.
Duh.
Like,
anyway, so that wins over priestesses who were like, I don't know, whatever, fearful of the training. So now they train, and because they're training, she's like, I have to scry.
Yeah. Yep, she has to scry. And she said all of my brave priestess girlies are facing their fears. So why the fuck can't I?
So I must face mine. So she scries with Cassie Baby.
She gets her bones, she gets her stones.
She like scries with Cassie Baby, but nothing happens. You know, like she can't really get it. She can't get it up. She can't get it to work. Basically.
She can't get it up.
She can't get it up. So they just like go to bed. And then Cassie Baby is woken by like a sense of like dread and cold and instinct. And House, capital H House, is like flaring the lamps like SOS.
Yeah.
So he like starts sprinting out his door in only his underwear towards Nesta's room. Azriel like is right behind him, but we don't get any insight into what Azriel wears when he goes to bed, which is kind of upsetting.
Yeah, I feel like
but they don't. She doesn't tell us. She's withholding.
Wow.
And so they arrive at Nesta's room. She's kind of in like classic exorcism mood, you know, like her back is arced. She's all lit by silver flame. She's having like a trauma sparked nightmare, basically, with her power.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Reese shows up.
Yeah.
And so he does a classic, like, his power versus her power to try and get her to settle down. She's alarmingly strong with the power of pure death or some such. Basically calms down once Cassian says her name. And then Reese is able to, like, whatever, solve the nightmare or something. And this will, like, sort of happen again. But anyway, it's kind of like TLDR. She has the power of pure death. And even Reese, who's, like, the most powerful fae of all time, is like, eek.
Like, whoa.
Yeah. Okay, so sometime shortly thereafter, Cassie and Reese are, like, chit-chatting. And Cassie could tell that his brother is tense. And we learn, like, the major Farrah drama of the book, which is, like, can you explain it? Because I just, like, I don't really understand.
Sure. Farrah's pregnant.
I get that part.
Yeah. Now, Will, when a boy and a girl, like, really love each other. No, she's pregnant, but they conceived the baby when she had shapeshifted into an Illyrian with wings.
Right. Okay.
And so the baby has wings, they've discovered.
Were they doing that? Do you recall? Is their conception, like, a known? Like, did we see that in a past book?
I don't know. I don't think so. But if it was in the Hallmark special interlude, I guess I don't really know. But I don't think so.
She shapeshifts into being an Illyrian because that's how she flies. So she just, like, had just been flying, and that's why.
She just likes to be Illyrian sometimes.
Okay.
Plus, like, wings are erotic, so maybe they're doing some wing play or something.
What's the word?
Erogenous zones.
Erogenous.
Yeah. Yeah. So, conceived the wee babe. By the way, side note.
Yeah,
I love in this book how they refer to the baby as a babe. I just want to incorporate that. Yeah, she's like, if the babe, like Nessa's like, you know, if the babe comes into this world, it has to be like a safe world. And I think we should start calling babies babes.
I do like that. It does feel Scottish, right?
Yeah, it feels like old timey in some way.
Like wee babe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the babe has wings.
So the babe has wings, and usually you gotta have an Illyrian womb delivery system vibe that can stretch out to, like, get those wings out.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess if you don't, it's just bad vibes. It's very likely that Farrah is gonna die, the child with her.
Right. And they do a kind of whole explanation that there's no C-section in this world.
Right. They
so, like,
can't
that's
do a
not C-section.
An option. Nope.
I was like, can't she just shift back? But the doc's
but now
like,
it's
nope.
Like too dangerous. Yeah.
Doc's like, nope. I kind of feel like I would still try that, given, I don't know. Anyway, so that's, like, obviously Reese is, like, super worried. Here is maybe the most, like, the moral quandary of the situation. Is they all decide, I mean, Reese decides, but they all go along with they're not going to tell Farrah.
Yeah.
About, like, the danger to her own life.
Right. Yeah, this is the shitty part. Of, like,
it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's not good. It's not not a good look for Reese.
No.
We like to pretend like it doesn't happen because it's not a good look.
Right.
So on to, you know, more fun vibes.
More fun vibes, yeah. So, well, first, like, Reese is so stressed, so he and Cassie need to, like, fight to, like, get it out of his system and get, like, scraped up and whatever. Which means that Cassian comes to dinner all beat up, you know? He's all beat up. He immediately tells Nesta about the babe and the whole babe situation. And even Nesta can kind of, like, get out of her little head a little bit, but she doesn't really dwell on it because they quickly move on to something more important.
Yeah.
He says, "Why haven't you sought me out?" And Nesta knew what he meant solely from the way his voice had dropped an octave. And then he's like, "I didn't hurt you, did I?" And this is, of course, referencing their little liaison in the dining room previously.
Yes.
And she was like, I loved it. Like, I loved it.
And I think, fact, Does she not say, I loved it when you fucked my mouth, Cassian?
Yeah.
And
then she's like, do you want to fuck me on this table? And he's like, yes, on this table, on, and this, I told you, on every surface in the capital H house.
Ooh.
And then she's like, I don't think House would appreciate such filthy behavior, even if it's a romance reader as well. And he's like, wait, like, what? I thought it was like a joke. I didn't know, like, it was a sentient being. The whole book, he's sort of like, I need to, like, really check in with Reese about, like, is House alive? Kind of unclear.
Is House,
But that's kind of all they get. They get a little dirty talk because he's a dirty boy and, like, cut up and bleeding. Dirty. And she's like, I have standards. Like, we're not doing this right now.
Yeah.
But so like the babe talk has encouraged her to try scrying again because I guess the gravity of the whole situation.
Yeah, the wee babe.
Mm-hmm. So Reese and Asriel and Feyre and like, you know, everyone, whatever, are there to like watch. And this time it works, but it almost works too well because she like goes like, whatever. She's scrying deep and is kind of unreachable.
Yeah, Nesta's really, like, in the zone, in the scrying zone.
She's really in the zone, and I didn't pick this up on the first read, but it is, like, kind of funny, especially given Rachel's phobia of French kissing.
I was
what happens
say.
next? So she's getting cold, like, really cold. Face is, like frost is developing. And so Cassian is trying to save her, like, the way... Like, last time all he had to do was say her name, but he needs to put in a little more effort this time. So first of all, he starts, like... Everyone else is in the room, and he's like, fuck, okay. And he's like, let go of the stones and bones, and then you and I can play. It's like... Okay.
Yes.
And that, like, doesn't... Like, I don't know. That, like, starts to work, but it doesn't really do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he starts kissing her, but like her whole mouth, including the inside of her mouth, is like covered in frost. So he's just like putting his tongue into her mouth.
Her frosty mouth.
Yeah, it's literally crusted with hoarfrost. Nesta didn't kiss him back because she's like so deep into this. And so he's like sending his heat through his tongue, and he slid his tongue.
Like, fully tonguing her.
Yeah, like slid his tongue over every inch. Over her frozen teeth, over the roof of her mouth. And, like, basically, he just uses his tongue to, like, melt like, all the frost in her mouth.
Yeah. I also just need to note, before that part, he lets how much he wants her, like, blaze in his eyes, and then he lets the scent of his arousal wrap around her. So the whole, like, inner circle is just there.
They're like, okay, I guess
and he's just, like... permeating, emitting his horny scent, and then he's like fully like licking every crevice of her frozen mouth. I loved this.
He's like, this is a necessary medical procedure.
Yeah. Can you imagine everyone else in the room and they're all like, okay.
What is happening? Also, it's like probably not super evident to them that like literally her mouth is frozen, so they're like, what are you like, why are you defrosting her mouth with your tongue? And then I think it like ends and Reese like sends him a little like mental DM or whatever. He's like, dude, like, you know, like whatever. Does Cassian have like heat power? Is that his power? Because he's like the whole room is like hot now. Like you made the whole room hot with your like defrosting efforts.
And, like, horny, stinky.
Okay, but so she comes back and they've learned where the mask is, which is one of the trove. The mask allows one to raise the dead. Mm-hmm. And the scrying has revealed that the mask is in the bog, which is in the middle, which is where the bog is.
Yeah.
So the middle. I mean, do you have a good...
Nope.
Okay. The middle is like...
It's like the part where none of the High Lords...
It's like, it's sort of, right. It's both like demilitarized zone and like wildlife sanctuary for like kind of evil creatures that are really scary. Yeah. So they hang out there. So this is the part that, like, we might have dwelled on further were Dina here.
Yeah, like, no offense.
But, like, I think we
really
can just
happy to not.
Yeah, Cliff Notes on the bog. Cassian, Az, and Nesta have to go to the bog.
They do.
Rhys and Feyre have to stay because babe. It's basically the swamp. You probably don't remember this because I feel like you probably don't. It's like the swamp from Lord of the Rings. Do you know what I'm talking about? This is like a thing. This is the part of Lord of the Rings where the first time you watch it, you see the swamp, but then every other time you watch it, you do the obviously correct thing in movies 2 and 3, and you skip every Frodo and Sam scene when they're just like wandering through like different desolate landscapes, and this is like one of them. But it's like basically that swamp. They're like dead people like lying in the water staring up at you. And if you like get in the water, they'll like come get you or whatever. So it's like dangerous, scary swamp or whatever.
Classic bad vibes swamp.
So they winnow there. And would you know it, they find or are found by Aerys's soldiers. His missing soldiers. Basically, they're like, okay, Nesta, like, we don't want you to get, like, hurt. So, like, you go hang in this tree. You stay in this tree for, like, several hours while we fight. And there's, like, whatever, fighting. It's, like, Az is fighting, and then Cassian's fighting, and they're fighting. So they fight. Meanwhile, Nesta's in the tree, and she's in the tree so long, she starts to get worried. And she's like, I guess I'm going to get out of this tree. Because, like, also, like, what a weird place for me to be. And she kind of gets down from the tree, and whoops, she gets kidnapped by a swamp monster, a Kelpie. And it's like super scary. There's like non-consensual trauma as he like kisses her, and it like reminds her of past similar experiences, and it's all just awful. And he's basically trying to like drown her but also keep her alive for millennia so he could like feed off her or something or something. Anyway, using her, like, essence of the cauldron, she's just, like, in her head, wow, like, that mask would be really useful or something. And then the mask just sort of, like, shoots to her. It just, like, shows up.
Sure.
Which is, like, quite convenient. She puts on mask and then uses it to summon, like, a wee dead army. And the dead army kind of, like, kills the Kelpie, and then she finds Az and Cassian. And they're like, oh, my God, like, what's up? And she has, like, a very cinematic moment in which, like, this whole army rises out of the swamp for her. And then they're like, okay, we have these 2 prisoners. Let's go back. And they go back.
Yep.
I think that's all we need, right?
Yeah, I think we did good.
Sorry, Dina.
Okay. It's like several chapters. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like so much. But we have we have many more important things to get to.
Hugely.
We haven't even, like, hugely. Okay, so they return safe. There's a debrief. I do want to say, in this, let it not be said that we don't hold ourselves to account, because I hold myself to a standard. We hold ourselves to a standard here. Those of you who joined us for our Crescent City journeys will know that we could be sometimes harsh on the boys there for their kind of torture vibes. We get a good reminder here that our ACOTAR crew is not per se above similar sins, because we are torturing the 2 remaining soldiers.
Right.
That they got from... Also, I guess we should just say, in case... I assume we've covered it, but in case maybe you forgot. So Aerys, crown... What are they called? He's not is he a crown prince of the Autumn Court?
He's, or is he wants to be the heir of the Autumn Court.
Yeah. He's king. Like front runner to be next High Lord or something, probably.
Yeah. Oh, Autumn... Oh, yeah. High Lord of the Autumn Court, not the Autumn King. Whoops.
Wow. And... he lost, like, whatever, a dozen of his best soldiers. He's like, I don't know where they are. They were in the swamp. These 2, Rhys is interrogating them, quote, with that same mild calm that so many had heard right before being ripped to bloody ribbons.
Yeah.
And then, quote, Az knew where to slice up a male without letting him bleed out, knew how to make this last for days, and to conduct, quote, symphonies of pain. So these are the boys, and they're trying to get intel out of these, whatever, kind of clearly, it seems to them, enchanted soldiers. Like, they don't seem kind of normal. They seem like a little too desensitized. Feyre is at the torture session and kind of acts like the group's conscience. And she's like, she makes a good point, right? At least at first. We're just like, okay, if we think these guys are sort of like not acting on their own behest, is it like moral and just for us to be torturing them?
Right.
Which is a good
question,
point.
Farrah. Yeah.
It's a good question. Some might like want to probe like to the next kind of question, which was, okay, like, would it be okay if they were, like, even if they had their full faculties, would it be, and the implicit point seems to be that would be fine. Like, that's acceptable conduct.
Torture, very fair game in Prithian.
In all SJM worlds, I feel. Anyway, here the torture reveals nothing. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, we tried.
We tried. So the crew right now, they're torturing them in the hewn city, which is, I don't think I fully realized. So, okay, the hewn city, I think, is where the Court of Nightmares is, correct?
Correct.
And the Court of Nightmares is like the faux court of the night court, ?
Yeah, that's where Reese pretends that's what, like, the outside world thinks, like, is his court. But he actually, like, only goes there, like, quarterly.
Right, he goes for, like, board meetings.
Right.
Then he, like, pretends to be... And, like, the people who reside there are shitty and scary and, like, exactly what you would think, right?
Right, they're little craven, little night-dwelling jerks.
And so
I don't know
he's
why.
always...
Like, why?
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess that's, like, part of the shtick. But do they know? Do the people who live there know about, like, Valaris and stuff, or not really?
I think maybe they know, but they're not allowed to go.
That's so
until
shitty.
Like Reese like has to bargain that at some point. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like let them go. Maybe they wouldn't be so
yeah, they're
like,
so
shitty.
grumpy because they're like just in their little cave the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like kind of. Anyway, they're in like their necropolis or whatnot, but that's below ground. Then above, there's another palace.
Yes.
A distinct palace, which I didn't really realize. So they go up to the Moon Palace, which is not House capital H. That's the House of Wind.
House of Wind.
Which is maybe a villa.
This, literally when I say this used to keep me up at night. I used to lay awake at night and be like, is that the same place or is it a different place? And actually, finally, on Reddit, somebody else asked this question and finally I got my answer. They are different places.
Right.
They're both like in the top of mountains though, aren't they?
I think so.
They're basically the same thing.
Yeah, he was just like, I want two of them.
Right, but the Moonstone Palace is like the official palace. Again, where he would probably like receive, visitors.
Right. In terms of property that they own.
Yeah, let's run it down.
Okay, they have Hewn City, Nightmare Court, it's underground, right? Like underground scary city.
Yeah,
presumably with like a suite of rooms at their disposal.
Right.
Above that, they have Moon Palace, like which honestly, like kind of chic, like marble, I assume, palace, like on the mountains,
gorgeous, enchanted, no glass in the windows.
Right, that's the one that's like it's breezy. Open to air, it's breezy, but like climate controlled still. Fear not. Yes. Then they have the House of Wind, which is their like palace in the city. They're like city palace.
Well, yeah, but it's still in the top of a mountain.
Right, but it's like
overlooking
closer
Valaris.
To this. Yeah, it's overlooking Valaris. It's at the top of the mountain. It is like hard to get to the 10,000 stairs.
Yeah, 10,000 famously.
They then have the townhouse in the city itself, and then they just built this new villa like on the river.
Yeah, now that they're settling down to have a nuclear family,
and they have that little hunting lodge or whatever, right? That little cabin.
The cabin. Oh, yeah. Don't get me started.
So they're doing well.
I want you to rank your top 3. No, you got one. Actually, you got one. Which one are you taking?
One? Honestly, probably Moon Palace. That sounds so great. I mean, no, the real thing is I would take the townhouse. Like, that's all I want in life.
We love
like a townhouse in a desirable city. Amazing.
We really love the townhouse on this podcast.
But I'm quite attracted to open air windows that's still climate controlled,
Right. Amazing. And
that's a feature that's hard for me to
I think that the Moon Palace and the House of Wind both have those, I feel.
Let's assume. Like, why would you just do one?
They sound like the same. Like, they're like the same places. So, yeah, I'm very torn between House of Wind and the townhouse.
Yeah. I want nothing to do with the villa. I don't care at all about the villa.
We don't like the villa whatsoever. It's giving sad, married losers.
It's also giving, like, nouveau riche. It's, like, it's a little too new money, Feyre. Like, you need to have some class.
Yeah, she's like, we need like we're expanding our family. Like,
it's like you shouldn't get to build your dream villa at 21. You need to like develop some taste.
Yeah, and like earn it a little bit.
Earn it.
Yeah, like Just because you've saved fairy kind like 4 times. Like, you haven't really like earned it. We love the townhouse though.
Not a lot of it in this book. Anyway, we are at the Moon Palace though. Now that we've kind of done the whole thing, we're at the Moon Palace. And in the Moon Palace, they find Nesta, who has slipped past like all the spells everyone is capable of putting on to this like secret locked room where they are keeping the mask.
Yeah.
And everyone is creeped out because like, how? Like, she shouldn't be able to do that. And 2, like, Amren's like, you shouldn't have even been able to like take the mask off. Like, most people to remove the mask, their heads get cut off. Like, you just like can't take it off.
Yeah.
So they have various like kind of things they need to ask questions of. So they decide to invite Helion, High Lord of the Day Court, which is distinct from the Summer Court. Okay, never mind. I'll get distracted. Is there a Winter Court?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I was thinking about, though? This is another thing I was thinking about when I was, like, trying to fall asleep one night. They love to be like, well, like, Reese is like, no, well, like, the night court can't be night all the time. Like, you know, Mother Nature has her limits. Like, we can't make it night all the time. Whereas they can just make it spring all the time or summer all the time somewhere. It doesn't really make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And does the day court get night?
I think so. I think they must.
They must.
Because also they might go a little crazy without.
Right. So they decide to ask Helion, who's like the hot High Lord of Day, to come teach them new spells. And like, there's like, what will be a recurring theme in this book, someone's like, well, like, I don't know, do you think he's like actually gonna come? And Reese is like, oh no, he like fucking really has the hots for Nesta. So like, he'll show up so he can flirt with her. Fear you not.
Cute.
Okay. And now, Rachel, this is where the ep gets literally and figuratively steamy.
Wowee.
Okay, and it starts with maybe the most like sexually attractive part of the whole scene, which is the bath setup.
Ooh, nice.
She's in like infinity pool, like steaming a hot bath in her suite in the Moon Palace that like is on the edge of the balcony, and it just looks over like the mountain range.
I got chills.
Yeah. It's a sunken bathing pool. I'm now reading from the text.
Okay.
Open to the air beyond, water spilling over the lip that projected above the drop and trickling into the endless fall below.
Oh my gosh.
Ribbons of steam snaked along its surface, inviting and scented with lavender. And then it's like, they also talk about there are all these like wee little soaps, you know, like fancy soaps.
She's got mint and rosemary soap.
I would spend my whole life in this bath. Like, I would just become a little bath creature.
Ooh, little bath creature. And she has a bar of soap that smelled of sweet almonds.
Ugh.
And as she's washing all of the bog and like weeds and bogweeds out of her hair and stuff, it just floats right over the infinite.
Which is, like, obviously the worst part of a bath is, like, one, it gets cold too quickly, and 2, like, then you sort of are just, like...
stewing in your own filth.
Stewing in your dirty water.
Not
but, like,
in this bath.
Solved that problem. Ugh. And it's, like, sunset. Yeah. Anyway, like, that gets interrupted, and we're excited, but we're like, ugh.
Yeah, like, Cassian comes, and it's like, we're taking a bath.
Sorry.
Cassian.
So Cassie baby walks in with dinner.
Oh,
which is like
he brought
kind
her
of
a
chic.
tray.
Yeah, on a tray.
I love when someone brings me a tray of food.
Yeah.
Especially to my
happen
bath.
that often, honestly.
No, yeah.
He walks in with dinner and he's like, oops, sorry, like didn't see, like whatever. And okay, I don't know if this is a real reference, and if it is, if you will get it, but she goes all, I think, Angelina Jolie in, you know, what's the movie about Grendel? Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Beowulf.
Oh, Beowulf.
Beowulf. I think the monster's called Grendel in Beowulf. I don't think I made that up.
That's
She's
true.
like in Beowulf, you know, and she like walks out of the water and is like just like naked and hot, but like not at all like like no self-consciousness at all. She's just sort of like strutting up out of the water,
there.
hot and
but
naked.
Before that, he comes in with a tray and he's like, oh, hey, I figured like you wouldn't want to like eat in the dining room, because he like knows her really well, and he knows that she's like already like does not want to see any more people today.
Yeah, her social battery's depleted.
Yeah, and so he's like, clear my throat, and then he's like, oh, I'll just leave your tray over here for when you want it. And then he said, okay, right. enjoy your bath and the meal. And it says, seeing Cassian so flustered pushed away the shadows in her heart.
No.
Oh, she loves him.
She does. She does.
Really
and she loves him so much she does like a full strut,
Oh yeah. So now she's doing her Grendel. Does Angelina Jolie play Grendel?
No, I think
Sexy
she's like
Grendel?
I think she's Sexy Grendel's mom or something. I don't really understand.
Grendel does have a mom. I forgot that Grendel's mom was sexy. So Nesta gets out, water sluicing off her hair plastering to her breasts and doing nothing to hide her peaked nipples beneath. Do I look injured to you?
Which is impressive because I assume she, like all SJM girlies, has hair like down to her feet or whatever.
Oh,
and so
yeah, long ass hair.
Somehow, like all her hair is not obscuring the nips.
Yeah, those nips are poking on through. That's how at attention they are.
So she does this, and Cassian's like, you want to do this? And she says, which will be important because we'll get back to it at the end, yes, just sex. There can
just
be nothing more than sex, Cassian.
Oh, right, just sex.
And then they
Famously.
do sex.
Then they do sex.
So afterwards, they're at batting practice. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was about to say.
I didn't have the courage to like linger and like wait for your actual response.
My wrath.
See, I was afraid you'd like throw the computer out the window.
Yeah, skipping over the sexy. This is a long one, isn't it?
It's a long one, and it's the first one. You know.
Oh right, first penetration.
First like full on. So we really get into it. I will say they are, I think, of the people we have covered in this podcast, maybe the best at sex, it seems. Like
they're
together.
good at sex. They're good at sex. I think
they're
we
good
have
at
to
like
say that.
balancing kind of the foreplay and the full Monty. Like, you know, they have a good balance of that. There's obviously some tracing of fingers and sensitive zones.
Of course.
And there's like, these two are into Dom chat. Like, they kind of love a little Dom talk, you know?
Do they?
Yeah. There's a lot of like, you have to do this, like whatever, yada, yada, yada.
Cheeky.
And it's also nice they kind of switch back and forth. Like, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but it's kind of like 65-35. Like, it's mostly Cassian, but like she has her moments too.
Yeah.
And there are lots of little moments. Like, at one point, Cassian is gripping her hair, quote, like reins in one hand. Okay.
Love. Okay.
And so, yeah, they start teasing each other a little bit, and then they just like really get into it.
They really get into it. Yep.
And my like, okay, well, I have multiple favorite parts. Okay. One of my favorite wee bits, which obviously isn't Cassian's wee bit because Cassian's wee bit is nay wee, but my favorite probably bit of the scene is she's like, I said you could do me anywhere in the house, like capital H house, but we're not in house, so like I'm in charge here. And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine, like as long as we still get to do it in a house, like in capital H house. And I'm like, wow, like you guys really have kind of house kink. Like you really want house to be sort of present and like around.
Yeah.
Cassie has a house like voyeur kink or whatever. He just wants to be watched by house.
Voyeur?
Whatever. What'd I say?
Voyeur?
Voyeur. Okay, once they really get going, there is obviously, although maybe this is more realistic than some of the other girlies we've seen, but there's like an accommodation process.
Of course, canonical fitting of the member.
For the considerableness of Cassie. But I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh wow, is it gonna fit? And then they're like, oh, it does. But this time, Nesta tries to, quote, haul him into her.
Yeah.
Haul, my least favorite verb in a coital setting.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. We need to take this, like, you know, one little bit at a time.
Centimeter at a time.
Yeah. And then afterwards, she's like, oh, yeah, like, good thing he has, like, a whole procedure for this, because, like, it would not have.
Yeah. She's like, okay, maybe he's right.
And it's just like, you have to also recall the setting. Like, the bedroom is open to the air, like the mountains. It's sunset. Like, they're yelling, obviously, and like screaming at various points, and it's like echoing off the whole mountain range.
Of course, as it must. You know, whenever I make love, I like for it to reverberate across the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, dude. Are there like like little nuggets you'd like to surface, little specificities?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of specificities that I enjoyed. You know, but I am like a demure sort of
You're a modest
private
lass.
Yeah. Jinx.
Yeah. No, it's also, here's the thing.
Yeah.
They have so much sex in this book. We like can't really.
I know we can't.
We just can't.
We can't. I
will say though, it's like very good. This book is like she's really reached her peak of her talent. Maybe. I mean, we can only hope she surpasses it.
She
perhaps,
might keep
Sarah.
going.
But just refresh yourself. Just go take a wee look.
Go back
at
and
the
look.
text.
There's a lot of There's also a lot of like spillage.
Yeah, they're sort of like.
There's some seed spillage.
Indeed.
And they enjoy that. They both really enjoy that.
They love it.
I love that for them.
It's good that she has an excuse to take another bath. Like, that's sick.
Yeah.
So after they finish, though, there's no cuddles. Cassian just rolls out of bed, and he, like, kind of smirks, and he's like, just sex, right? And he, like, puts on his clothes, kind of, and walks out the door. And then, okay, this is where I'm not hating on Nesta, but I'm like, girl, she freaks out. She's like, did he not enjoy it? Babe, you told him literally there can be nothing more. Like, get a grip.
Classic. This is classic girly shit.
She's like, I didn't mean it, obviously. I didn't mean it.
You're all big talk about being a girl boss, big talk about like we're the sex, like we're just fucking, and then it's like you don't want to cuddle. Classic. We've all been there.
You would never.
Oh yeah, no, I would never.
Okay, we must move on.
We must carry on.
Look, there are a few chapters of like training. Basically, the girlies at training all know. Like the next day, they're like, we know.
Yeah.
Then she and Cassian start talking about swordplay, but it's a double entendre. Do you get it?
Yeah.
And they're like learning meditation. That's kind of all that happens.
Snore.
Okay. Then I guess like is it because like to use a sword you must like see how one is made or something, or like Cassian had like a Groupon or something to the blacksmith, but like he takes Cassian's like, Nesta, you and I have to go to the blacksmith. So they like, go to the blacksmith.
Yeah.
But you know what?
It's
not really, it's less a Groupon. It's honestly, it's more like a date from The Bachelor. It's like kind of the situation.
Yeah.
Because it's like they go to like local blacksmith who's like kind of like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah,
like, why am I doing this? And then they let Nesta like bang on some swords for like a little bit. And this will become important shortly because TLDR, we will learn that in her like whatever 15 minutes of pretending to be a blacksmith, she accidentally forges like 3 magic swords, the likes of which have not been seen in millennia.
Right. Classic.
Okay. Helion. Hottie Helion arrives. Okay, so he gets to know, though, he arrives at Valaris, right? Or the Moon Palace. Maybe it is the Moon Palace, actually.
Yeah, it is.
I guess it's the Moon Palace.
Yeah. He
arrives on his Pegasus. He has, like, a few Pegasi or whatever.
Yeah. Dina would want to be here for this.
Oh, yeah, likely. Like a sleek black Pegasus, and it's like, yeah, the Pegasus are, like, going extinct, basically. And what's her face? Like, Amarantha. Like,
killed
really
a bunch of the Pegasus.
Killed a bunch of the Pegasuses, which is, like, so fucked up. And the best part is he arrived on his Pegasus because Reese was like, you can't come in your coach pulled by fire horses.
I loved that. Helion really wanted to splash out and really like show up and show out. And Reese is like, no.
He's like a wee bit vain in a way we entirely support.
I love this. Okay, wait. Because also, let's just describe him now, but then we need to circle back to the Pegasuses for a second. But let's describe Helion, because he's such a king. Okay. He obviously picked an invisible fleck of lint from his draped white robe, as all hot high lords are wont to do, always getting that lint off. Invisible lint.
Yeah.
Now, his dark brown skin gleamed over the strong muscles of his bare thighs and legs, the golden sandals that laced up his calves useless in the snow-capped terrain around them. He carried no weapons. The only metal on him was the golden armband around one of his muscled biceps, fashioned after a snake, and the spiked golden crown atop his shoulder-length black hair. So he's basically like a Greek god.
Yeah, he's like a Greek god.
He's a Greek
so
god.
hot. And Cassian is like, I kind of like his fit. Like,
yeah, Cassian's like...
He's
I
always got like a good
it.
kind of casual hot style. Like, game recognized game.
Yeah. No, okay. So the reason why Dina would be really excited about this, and I know that it totally went right over your wee little boy boss head.
Wow.
Is, okay, so it says, when it's talking about the Pegasuses, it says, according to legend, the Pegasus had come from the island the prison sat upon, had once fed in fair meadows that had long given way to moss and mist. Perhaps that was part of the decline. Their homeland had vanished, and whatever had sustained them there was no longer. Now, I don't know if you recall, and I'm not sensing that you do recall,
Definitely don't recall.
The many connections to Pegasuses that our dear, darling Bryce Quinlan has.
What? Oh, she has the toy.
She has the toy, which is a unicorn Pegasus. But, yeah. So, and so... This is what they think the Dawn Court is. Like the old island that the prison... Dusk. Yes. Dusk Court. The old island that the prison is on. I thought the prison
was in the library.
No.
Is that a separate prison?
No. The prison is in the inside of a mountain on this island, which is apparently probably where the Dusk Court is.
And where the Pegasus came from.
Originated. It's apparently... And so apparently also... What?
What are Bryce's other Pegasus connections beyond the Beanie Baby?
I think it's that, and then on both of the Crescent City books, there are wee little Pegasuses, if you look at it closely.
Wow. Obviously would never do such a thing, but yeah.
Right. But I think that's sort of it. And then also SJM always has like Pegasus. She's always breadcrumbing Pegasus stuff.
Okay.
But I think, either Bryce is going to be able to, shift into a Pegasus, or maybe she just, will ride them.
Okay. Wow. That's a plot twist. I think she'll ride them.
Yeah, they're obviously, dying out and extinct because their High Lady isn't there.
Their High Lady isn't there to, help them copulate.
Flourish, yeah.
Exactly.
Bryce is going to have she's going to have a whole pasture of winged horses.
That is lovely. Oh.
So, yeah, apparently I think that's, very clear.
That does seem very clear.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. I'm excited for that.
I'm so excited.
So, Helion comes. They sort of, he seems like, I don't know. I feel like at one point, it seemed like all the courts are sort of rivals to each other. But now everyone's kind of friendly.
Yeah, they're all
they just tell him everything, basically.
Yeah.
They're here's the deal with the bad human queen. Here's the deal with the trove. Here's the deal with Feyre. Is there anything you do to help on any of it?
But by the way, I love how they're big reveal. They're they're confirming are we going to tell him that Feyre's pregnant? And they kind of have to. But then the way they tell him is Rhys undoes his glamour, and then the apparently gorgeous smell of pregnancy wafts. And then
and he knows immediately. He's wow, I know the smell of pregnancy.
I'd know it anywhere. It smells like a pregnant Feyre. Which
oh man, scent is such a prominent feature of these books. Is so funny.
Yeah, and SJM is just a really pro-pregnancy, pro-children girly in her own life. So she's really loving Feyre on this journey. So
then at one point, Helion does get to see Nesta, and we get, I think you previewed this in an earlier episode. Nesta's filling out her dress now that she's on her CrossFit journey and hot.
Oh yeah.
And her breasts are swelling gracefully. Her lush breasts above the scooped neckline, which
obviously
it would be a scooped neckline.
Of course, to show off those tatas.
Yeah, but Nesta's gonna Nesta. She's she just is born to put straight men down, and so kind of just puts him in his place by ignoring him.
Love.
And obviously he's more into her as a result. But
of course.
Okay, so Helion he doesn't really help at all. He like concludes that Eris's henchmen aren't under a spell, but under an influence, which I think for our purposes is like a different kind of spell. But like basically they're like, okay, the human queen has found the crown. Like that's what's up. These people are under mind control, which is what the crown, which is another part of the trove, does. Mind controls you. At some point that night, Cassian knocks on Nesta's door to bring her more war books. But she's like, it's nighttime. Like I read smut at night. Like I don't. There's no nonfiction reading happening after work hours, which is obviously the correct.
Gosh, by the way, as an aside, isn't it the worst, like, when you're, like, into someone and you have to fucking pretend that you like the music that they like, or, like, you like the book, you like, guys send you fucking YouTube videos and you're like, yeah, that's so funny.
It's so good, yeah.
Yeah, I love reading about military history. Oh my god,
that's 100%
so interesting.
the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's actually into it, but whatever.
She's, like, kind of actually into it. So, like, they, like, I guess have not liaised since liaison the full at the moon palace. And so she blurts out as he's delivering the books, was the sex not good for you? And he's like, duh, it was good. You just said, like, we can't, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Insecure queen.
Yeah. And then he has, like, some weird thing about, like, I thought it'd be selfish for us to have, I don't know. They're, like, fortunately, they kind of, like, get past this little, like, fake, whatever, classic shit. And they just get right back into round 2, which actually I think is like round 2 and round 3 because they're on a multiple mutual gasm journey. And they finally cuddle some, but Cassie doesn't spend the night still. They're not at the point of spending the night. Yeah, I have a space in my outline for like Rach notes.
Going to the text.
For going to the text.
Well, again, we're not going to get into all of it, but this is the famous line. The line heard around the world. You don't even know what it is?
No.
You don't even know? So, let's see. Let's go to the text. Okay. So this is after a couple rounds, you know? Mm-hmm. He says, get on your hands and knees, he ordered, his voice so low she could barely understand him. But her blood heated, and an ache that had nothing to do with how hard he'd just taken her began to build between her legs once more. So Nesta did as he bade. As he bade. So Nesta did as he bade, burying herself, still wet and gleaming with both of their releases. Ooh.
Okay.
He snarled in satisfaction. Beautiful. She whimpered a bit, because beneath the praise, pure lust simmered. He growled, put your hands on the headboard.
That's it.
That's the famous.
Wow. But we don't even see it.
And then at the end, he leans in to whisper in her ear, hold on tight. No, we don't see it. We don't see it.
Right, we don't see it.
But we did just see a lot. So we're like,
we did see quite a lot.
Like, we can guess.
Infer. We can infer.
But I'm upset, honestly, R.I.P. Dina, that she's not here, because she has mentioned that she likes this, so notwithstanding, you know, her aversion to men, right? She said she's holding on to that headboard. I mean,
her quote-unquote aversion to men.
Yeah, I guess we can't...
For another day, maybe when she can defend herself.
Right, exactly. We can't sort of, like, kind of visit that territory.
Okay, yes, the headboard. I thought the headboard was, like, a different ACOTAR book, but...
Nope, that's it. That's the one. Put your hands on the headboard.
Wow, as you are doing right now.
As I am doing. As I am demonstrating. Wow. I mean, they're just fucking left, right, and center.
They are. I mean, they have a whole house to themselves. They have a whole house to perform for, you know? Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's one minor thing before we wrap this episode, of less importance, obviously, to everything but the plot.
Right.
The next day, the court has a meeting because the blacksmith has, in fact, informed them that the swords created in the Groupon are very magical. Like, level of the Dread Trove magical.
Yeah.
And it's a sword, and a longer sword, and a dagger. Amren orders them to not tell Nesta, and they're like, that's unfair, but Reese is like, lock it up. Amren is in charge in this moment. We're not telling Nesta because, like, she might like throw a temper tantrum and create like a lot and give them to the wrong person or something like that.
Right.
Amryn, just like fucking classic. It seems like she just knows how to pull little strings of men so well. Because she's like, she warns the boys. She's like, don't open those swords. Like, don't draw those swords.
Touch 'em.
Like, they're too dangerous. And she's just hung out with men long enough to know that obviously this will lead them to doing so.
Right.
And she like steps out for a moment, and Cassian's like, okay, like, should we draw the swords? And so they draw
like,
the swords.
Like, yeah, let's do it.
And then she steps back in and she's like, aha, I knew it. And why I think it's like intentional is because otherwise it's confusing. Because before she was warning them, and then she immediately starts being like, you know, with these swords, Rhys, like, they're basically like all powerful weapons. You could become High King.
Right.
You could just take over all of Prithian.
Right.
And then Azriel and Amryn are like really on their rationalizing journey, like, wow, Rhys should be president because like there would be no more war, there would be peace, there would be like no bickering ever.
Right. Like you kind of have.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, whatever. He's like kind of demurring. Obviously, we'll see if that persists. And the chapter in this episode end on a grim note that perhaps will be taken up, I don't know, either later this book or perhaps in a future book. Amryn says, you know, if you don't take the power when it's offered to you, it might be offered to someone else.
Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun.
Well, thank you so much, Will. What a delight.
I know. Wow, we were so brave to do this without Dina.
I know, we miss her. She'll be back. Can't wait to have her back next week.
Next week. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, etc.
Heart, share, retweet. Yeah, follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram. We're going live on TikTok now. We've got the followers. We're able to go live now. So follow us so you can see us when we're going live. For instance, guess what? This podcast was recorded live on live. So if you were on live, you could have seen it.
Wow.
So you know.
Just so you know.
And thank you very much for those who have rated and reviewed. We still appreciate that. And in fact, we still urge you to do so because...
Yeah, we could use a new Apple review if
yeah,
like
we really
someone
could.
has one.
Yeah,
it's
we really...
like,
we haven't gotten one in a while.
Yeah, so...
You deserve it.
We are recording on January 6th. Insurrection Day, and like everyone needs an Insurrection Day present, you know.
I know, yeah, which we'll get in the future.
Am I going to alienate us from our insurrector audience? We're going to lose listeners.
We key demo that we're losing.
Yeah.
Okay, but with that, take care. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.